Hello everybody, it's Foxy speaking, and welcome to another episode of Foxy's Fun Inspirational Chats. And today I will be your host. And in this episode, this is the continuation of the Croatia story. As said before, because there were going to be quite a great few parts to the story of every new episode until the fictional Croatian holiday is over, set for like I said before, either 2027 or 2028, even though it was a fictional story based on a dream I once had of it. It was myself, David, Scott and Sue Vecchio having the holiday in this fictional version of it. Fictionally what we did, but obviously it's not real life, as I've said before. So, yes. We had only about another 2 days to go before the conclusion of our holiday. And in this day, we were to be visiting the owners of Nyx Potato. The owners of Nyx Potato, and we were also going to see Debbie Framsies again, and as well as seeing Nyx Potato, the cats themselves. And as well as also helping the owners of Nyx Potato feeding the stray cats. Help them feeding the stray cats, and as well as having a ride on the cable car that runs not too far from the locations where they are feeding the stray cats, generally speaking, and all that, and all the rest of it. So yes, it was a full day planned, if one dare might point out. So yes. So, where was I? Oh, yes. Oh, yeah, right, now here I am. To this side of the story, I got up from my bed in the hotel in Zagreb that I was staying at, and obviously David and Scott and Sue Vecchio themselves got up from the bed where they were sleeping at in Zagreb in Croatia, as we were not staying or sleeping in the same localities of Zagreb and all that. We got up, showered up, got dressed, got our hair combed up and groomed well and all that, shaved and all that, or made up, what have you. Had our breakfast, and we met at the Zagreb railway station and took the train from Zagreb to the location where Nyx Potato's owners live in, which is not Zagreb, by the way, but it's not terribly far, so it wouldn't have been too far a rail train trip to do that and all the rest of it. So yes, both myself, David and Sue, we obviously greeted each other before we boarded the train, and as we were on the train, we just could not help but talk excitedly about meeting again the owners of Nyx Potato. But not only that, on a more exciting note, all three of us were to be seeing Nyx Potato, the cats themselves, for the first time in person, as we had not met them before and only seen the videos of them. I have to say, I'm so excited to meet Nyx Potato, the cats. I think if Harriet were able to come to Croatia with us, Foxy and David, I think she'd be so excited to see Nyx Potato, the cats themselves. Sue said, obviously feeling extremely excited with the fact and feeling that she'll be seeing Nyx Potato, the cats themselves. I, for one, Sue, am certainly looking forward to seeing Nyx Potato, the cats themselves. I'm looking forward to seeing them too, yeah, David said in response. I've seen many videos of Nyx and Potato, the cats themselves, but I'm definitely looking forward to seeing them in person, and I'll certainly try and take some videos of them to put on my YouTube channel. I will take some videos of Nyx and Potato too to put on my YouTube channel too. Sue said, I most certainly will do the same thing, I said in response and in agreement to what they were talking about, and agreeing that it was an extremely good idea to take videos of Nyx and Potato themselves. I, for one, certainly thought it was a good idea, and obviously the owners of Nyx and Potato certainly would not have minded either, and obviously they wouldn't have minded for Debbie Framses to take videos of Nyx and Potato too, since she was staying over with them. So, we arrived at the railway station, we got out of the train, and we walked to the way out of the railway station. It was a fairly quick walk, and quicker than we could have imagined to find the complete way out of the railway station itself, and standing outside of the railway station by the car park were the owners of Nyx and Potato. We walked over to them and said our hello to the owners of Nyx and Potato, and gave them our friendly hugs and kisses towards them, and then came walking along was Debbie Framses, who had obviously possibly popped into a shop or looked into a little toy shop or a little clothes shop or a little antique shop, something like that, one of those little independent shops of those three main categories, what have you, and then came over to us. Sorry if I'm late. I decided to look into some very nice cute looking shops, cute looking independent shops which I'd just seen on this street, Debbie said, but hello, Foxy, David and Sue, it's nice to see you. Hello there, Debbie, I said, and I shook hands and gave her a little hug and a kiss to her cheek. And Sue did the same thing, gave her a hug and a kiss, and as did David Scott as well. It's good to see you, Debbie, David said, and it's wonderful seeing you again too, Debbie, Sue said. And so, after we gave our greetings, we all walked over to the apartment residential home of the owners of Nyx and Potato. After a fairly decent long walk to their home residence apartment, we arrived, and they showed us the interior of their home apartment. And as we were about to explore the apartment, then suddenly came a whoosh and a leap. Meow, meow. There was little Nyxa. Hello, Nyxa, I said. I was the first one to spot her. Nyxa! Hello, Nyx! Sue said, absolutely excited. Hello, Nyxa, said Nyx and Potato's owner. Hello, Nyxa. Hello. Mitzi. Mitz, Nyx. Nyx. Mitz. Yeah, Titi-my, said the lovely lady, Nyx and Potato's owner, who is the lovely Croatian lady who's the wife. And then, later on, came a slow but steady, walking, large Maine Coon mixed cat, Potato. He came in and brrr, said, doing the Maine Coon bleating sound, which is actually, in truth, Maine Coon trilling, as Daphne does the brrr sometimes whenever she's walking around. Hello there, Potato, I said. Is it me, I think, or am I looking at one of Daphne's relatives, I said, since Potato does look very, very much like Daphne, very, very much so, but just a completely different colour, to evidently point out. I ended up tendering affection to both Nyxa and Potato themselves, and Nyxa began purring as I was stroking her. David began to take videos, and Sue began to take videos too, as they got their camera recorders out, and then I got my camera recorder out too, and began taking videos of Nyxa and Potato, the cats themselves. "Hello, Nyx. Hello, Potato," David said as he was talking while taking a video. "Hello, cute kitties. Cute kitties, Nyx Potato," Sue said sweetly. "Oh, Nyx, lovely, beautiful Nyx, and very friendly, though large and fluffy, Potato," I said as we took videos. And then but unbeknownst to us, the husband, who was one of the owners of Nyx and Potato, which is the married couple who are the owners of Nyx and Potato primarily speaking, began to take videos on his camcorder of taking a video of both myself, Sue Vecchio, and David Scott tendering affection to Nyx and Potato, the cats themselves. And obviously it was going to be a video he was going to put onto the Nyx and Potato YouTube channel, which by that point had far more than 1K subscribers by 2027, 2028, something like that. And then he cut the recording on his camcorder and then began to take some videos on his telephone after that as well. Since he had since invested in better lighting equipment to take more regular videos of Nyx and Potato themselves. And as well as also taking the ordinary videos of feeding the stray cats he and his wife generally help out and feed and all that, as we all know it, on a generally weekly basis. And as well as investing in money for their veterinarian checks and surgery and all that, and investing to get them rehomed and all that. So, once that was all done, before long it was lunchtime, and the owners of Nyx and Potato cooked us a nice spaghetti bolognese lunch. And we were going to have dinner with them, but in their apartment. And for dinner we were going to be having lasagna with some vegetables. And then after having dinner with them, we were going to have a couple of alcoholic drinks, likely 1 or 2 pints of beer, but obviously not too many, as we were going to head back to Zagreb, as we had, after that, only one more day left for our Croatian holiday before heading back for myself and David Scott, England in the United Kingdom, and Sue Vecchio back to the United States of America. So yes, we had our spaghetti bolognese lunch, and we also had some salad to include, but luckily there were no nuts in the salad, as I personally requested no nuts. But the spaghetti bolognese was very tasty and scrumptious, with some wonderful salad which had iceberg lettuce, chopped up cucumbers and olives and tomatoes, which certainly had excellent, fantastic, and oh my goodness, incredible taste. I couldn't help but almost want to demolish the salad, since I'm very big on eating salad myself. I ate quite a bit of bolognese, as well as saving salad and bolognese for everyone else, as we were sharing it fairly, the food in between all of us, all 6 of us. Being myself, David Scott, Sue Vecchio, Debbie Framses, and the owners of Nyx and Potato. But before long we were full of food and happily eaten our lunch. And we were to take time to digest our food. Once we took the time to digest our lunch meal, after we had eaten it all up and all the rest of it, we decided to set off out to feed the stray cats, or whatever stray cats we could find. And so we went out to the locality where the owners of Nyx and Potato generally seek out and find the stray cats. And as we were waiting, there was Buddy waiting for us alongside Stanley, Chungus, Ginger, and also And little one, hello buddy boy, meow. Buddy boy said, hello little buddy boy, hello, mitz mitz, Stanley, mitz mitz, mitz mitz. And we began to take videos of them, but obviously at some point they were soon to be rehomed. Buddy boy, Stanley, Chungus, Ginger, as we began tendering affection and stroking them and all that. And as we tendered affection, we began feeding them. And then before long, the cat turned up, and we knew which cat it was. It was the big, black, fluffy cat. Fluffy, Fluffy, said the wife. Fluffy, hello there, Fluffy, I said. Hello, but by that point, Fluffy was far less wild, and if we stroked her, she would not mind. She would sometimes do some playful claws if we were to tickle her or stroke her by this point, but luckily would not bite or hit or scratch if we were to stroke by that point. She seemed more tame, and she too was about to be rehomed after quite a great few years of being fed as a stray, before eventually to soon have a veterinary checks and all that, and then eventually to be rehomed by some new loving owners somewhere in Croatia. And so we began feeding them. I also took videos whilst feeding them, as did David, Scott, Sue Vecchio, Debbie Framses, and also the owners of Nyx Potato took videos of us feeding them when we had cut the recording for our videos. Although we also took videos of the owners of Nyx Potato and feeding the stray cats. True, but then obviously but they were not taking a video by that point. And eventually, the owners of Nyx Potato took our photograph with the stray cats, being myself tendering affection to a stray cat, likely Stanley, and David Scott having a photograph of him tendering Fluffy, the stray cat, and Sue Vecchio having a photograph stroking the stray cat Chungus, and Debbie Framsey stroking and tendering affection to the stray cat Ginger. And so our photographed pictures were snapped and shot, and before long we were able to see it. Obviously they were going to share it online, and we were going to look at it on their YouTube channel in the community postage section. Almost certainly indeed. And so, after a great while, about an hour or so of feeding the stray cats, as well as feeding stray cats we'd never seen before and didn't know what to name them and all that, it was time to take a ride in the cable car, which was running nearby, so we walked up to the cable car stop. When we got to the cable car stop, we paid for our tickets to go into the cable car, but as soon as necessarily ably possible to do so, we boarded the cable car and took our ride in the cable car. Myself, David Scott, Sue Vecchio also took our videos. Debbie Framses did not take a video, but that was alright. And neither did the owners of Nyx Potato, but we did, however, sometimes take some videos of them too, and sometimes we even took some snap photographs together, of all of us together. Well, namely the owners of Nyx Potato taking a selfie of all of us in it, from time to time taking some snapped photographed shots and all that. And so we got to the other end and decided to explore where the other end of the cable car stop brought us. We looked into some various shops and looked around a little town, a little peaceful town and all that, and little parks we wandered through and all that. And if we ever ran into another cat, whenever one of the owners had any spare cat food, she would give it to the cat we'd encountered on the street. But we were obviously fairly conscious of the fact that the cat might have ownership with owners and all that. But still we decided to feed it all the same. And so, as we explored the little town, once that was over, we boarded the cable car again for the return trip back to where we got it from. And so, doing the same thing, boarding it, getting back in, taking videos, all that, and then back to the other stop. And so, once that was done, we walked back to the apartment of Nyx Potato's owners. And once that was all done, they cooked up the lasagna meal they said they were going to do for us. And then we had our nice tasty lasagna meal with some nice vegetables to go with it. And certainly, goodness gracious me, was it a wonderful meal we had. So, once our lasagna meal was done, we would take time to digest, but not take as long this time, because we were going to go out for a few drinks in their local pub afterwards. And so, once that was all done, we walked to their local pub, and we went to the counter. Obviously, it was to be Croatian. The bartenders serving us were likely to speak Croatian, and so it was the lovely wife, the owner of Nyx Potato, who were the married couple, the Englishman and the Croatian lady. So the Croatian lady, the lovely Croatian lady, spoke to the bartender and gave out our issuing orders, speaking in Croatian, what we wanted to drink in the pub. And so the bartender comprehended the lovely Croatian lady's words, obviously speaking it in Croatian, and then served all of our drinks. I had a pint of beer, David had a pint of beer, Sue Vecchio, I think, had a cider. Well, I don't know if she drinks cider, either a cider or a wine or a Prosecco, something like that. I do not know whether or not Debbie Framsey's drinks or not, but let's assume she does drink alcohol, but won't say what it is. And the owners of Nyx Potato, I think the wife likely had a glass of white wine, and the husband had a pint of beer, like myself and David Scott did. "Cheers, matey," David said to the friendly Englishman who was the husband. "Cheers, my wonderful friend," I said, and we both tapped our tankard pint glasses to the owner of Nyx Potato, who was the friendly husband, and then we all drank away, though we took it fairly steadily as a means not to get drunk and all that. And so once we got through our drink after a good 75-83 minutes of drinking our first drink, we decided to have one last drink together, because we were not going to have so many drinks to the point where we'd be getting drunk. And so we had another drink. Myself, David Scott, and the friendly Englishman, the owner of Nyx Potato, we had a pint of beer, again in our same tankard glasses it was filled in. The Croatian lady, the wife, had the white wine. Debbie Framsey's had whatever drink she had, and Sue Vecchio's had the usual alcoholic drink she had after the first round, as a means to not mix up the alcohol and all that. And then we had our drink, and once that was over, after a good 70-80 odd minutes, fortunately not tipsy, we were okay and conscious and on our feet, we walked out of the pub, exchanged our friendly goodbyes to the owners of Nyx Potato and Debbie Framsey's, as it was going to be the last time for actually a great while before myself, Sue Vecchio and David Scott were to be seeing those three people again. So we all embraced with a nice friendly hug, as we were with all of them, as we were to not see them again for a fair while afterwards. We were not due to see them again until either whenever the owners of Nyx Potato were to be heading back over to England again for a holiday, or for whenever, say, Debbie Framsey's was to be heading over to England, something like that, you know. And so that was all done, and we all walked over to the railway station, which was not terribly far from the home residency of the Nyx Potato's owners, though it was only myself, Sue Vecchio and David Scott walking the way, since we were shown the way by the owners of Nyx Potato. Fortunately, we were not too late for the last train, but there were still many trains running by that point, as it was about 10 o'clock or so at night, something like that. Before long, our train arrived and we boarded it. Though we were not tipsy, we felt rather tired after a big day. Oh, what a wonderful few beers we had in the pub. I didn't drink the beer, David. It was yourself, Foxy, and the owner of Nyx Potato who had the 2 pints of beer. But it was certainly a nice time, and I, for one, thoroughly enjoyed our time in the pub altogether. I would certainly agree with your point, Sue, I said. It was a wonderful and certainly a thoroughly enjoyable time going out for a drink with the owners of Nyx Potato. I would agree with your sentiment and your point, Foxy, Sue said lovingly. Well, thank you very much indeed, Sue. Indeed, Foxy, we certainly had a nice time altogether in that Croatian pub near the home residence of Nyx Potato's owners. Before long, our train arrived at the Zagreb Central Railway Station, and there we got out at the Zagreb Central Railway Station and boarded a taxicab vehicle in order to get back to where we were staying in, the hotels and the youth hostels we were staying in Zagreb in Croatia. And so we were all dropped off. I was dropped off at the hotel by the taxicab first, and then Sue Vecchio and David Scott were likely to be dropped off later on at the later points. I said my friendly goodbyes to David Scott and Sue Vecchio, as we were to be seeing each other again tomorrow for our final day to see which places or where in Zagreb we could explore before heading back to our home towns. And so I got out of the taxicab, walked into the hotel I was staying in, and walked into my hotel room and got ready for bed, watched a bit of YouTube, and then went to bed and fell happily to sleep, thinking and reflecting on what a wonderful full day I had, as there was only to be one more day left, one full day to be exploring Zagreb or Croatia, and then the very next day to be heading home, but dreaming of all the wonderful things we'd done that very day, as well as reflecting on the various other past memories of fun we had all had, myself, David Scott, Sue Vecchio had over the course of our holiday in Croatia. The end. Well, this is certainly another part in Croatia of our holiday in Croatia. Fictional, that is, not real life. But if you were watching David and Sue, please do let me know what your thoughts were in the comments down below on this latest episode of our fictional holiday we had in Croatia. And there will certainly indeed be yet another part to come, as it's not completely over yet. But thanks everybody indeed for watching this latest episode of Foxy's Fun Inspirational Chats. Please let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. Thanks everybody indeed for watching, and ta-ta another time from Foxy. Oh.